Hosea 9. So when I read it, what came to my mind at the end is, wow, God is just final in pretty much like putting up with these stubborn people, and he is really laying it out that he won't tolerate those kind of disobedience any longer. And so God said that they have been unfaithful. They will pretty much return to Egypt. God took them out of Egypt, but Ephraim will return to Egypt. And in Assyria, these were what God considered to be Israel and lovers, that they give their goods to Egypt and Assyria for military protection. But in these places, they will eat unclean food, and they were told not to eat unclean food, but now they have to eat unclean food. And their bread to them will be like mourner's bread, and the study Bible says that mourner's bread is like, let me find it, like bread considered unclean because it came from a house of death. So their bread will be for themselves alone. They will not enter the house of God. They will be gone because of destruction. And this stood out to me. Weeds will take possession of their treasures of silver. So whatever treasures they have, we will just overgrow it, and thorn will be in their tents. The days of punishment have come. The days of retribution has come. And this is, I think there is, God always talk about reconciliation, but in this section that later people have section off, this is just talking about punishment and retribution, not conciliation yet. But God let punishment and retribution come so that in their in their want, when there's like nothing else left for them, then they will realize who God is and who is the true God, and they will then turn and serve God. And then right here, so it says right here that the prophet is a fool, the inspired person is insane because of the grossness of your wrongdoing. So I read it and I thought, oh, that means that because of their sins, their prophets are actually fools and their inspired persons are actually insane. But when I read the study Bible, they actually said that the people of Israel ignored and derided Hosea, calling him a fool and insane. In reality, Hosea was a watchman, sounding the alarm for God, coming danger for his people. So I think reading that, just those verses, we have different interpretation when we read it. I don't know who's right, but we know maybe they're both right. And then Ephraim was a watchman with my God, a prophet, yet the snare of a bush catcher is in all his ways. Okay. So God will remember their guilt and punish their sins. And God likened Israel to finding grapes in the wilderness, and then seeing their forefather as the earliest fruit on the fig tree in its first season. So like God sees them and he's like, oh, I found something really precious early on, very early on, and he wants to, and he likes good returns, so he wants to, make a covenant with them and raise them and grow them well. And he's kind of like nipping off parts that are wrong and like kind of taking care of this plant. But then they came to Baal Peor and then devoted themselves to shame, and they became detestable as that which they loved. So they loved Baal Peor, and then there's no birth, no pregnancy. And this one, the study Bible talk more about it, that Israel quickly turned away from God and went to Baal Peor, where they worshiped other gods. Then Hosea spoke of miscarrying womb and dried breasts to show Israel that the worship of the fertility god Baal, who promised offspring to his worshippers, would bring them only to barrenness and divine judgment. And not only Baal, I think there was a time where a lot of people worship Asherah, who is also a fertility god, and yet instead these idols they will only bring no birth, no pregnancy, no conception. And even with the children that they do have, God will bereave them of their children until not a person is left. They will have miscarrying womb, and like God will take away the precious ones in their womb. So God will reject them because they have not listened to him, and they will be wanderers among the nations. So how it's very heavy. The reading today is very heavy, but we do know that God does allow punishment for reconciliation, and he is merciful to those who is repentant, who has true repentance. And from like what we know about God and from what I heard about NDEs, near-death experience and deathbed experiences, children, even though they are taken away, it seems like that God will like save them because they are before the age. They're in an age where they might not know right from wrong yet, and so God has a special place for them. So that's what I understand, and that's what I think about when I thought about when I read this.